And joining me now to discuss the latest developments coming out of Gaza, I'm joined Professor Koben Michael of the INSS and Miskav Institute. Thank you both so much for joining. So we have 7 bodies still remaining in Gaza, and we are well into the U.S. brokered ceasefire. Now, Hamas had initially been given 72 hours to return all the bodies, and they have not complied, far from it. Kobi, I'd like to start with you. You know, Hamas is claiming that they are searching for the bodies in the rubble and that it's hard to locate them all. But we know that they are playing games. We actually have drone footage from the IDF that proves it. So what could Hamas possibly be gaining from this game?
First of all, let me just correct a bit. The idea of 72 hours was with regard to the alive hostages, not with regard to the dead hostages. And here, Hamas has a path that it can run away through, and this is exactly what they are doing. They want to waste and to earn time in the very same time, okay? To waste time, which means to prolong all the process in a way that will enable them to earn time for reconstituting themselves and to be with foots on the ground with regard to the military point of view and with regard to the governmental point of view as well. And we see that since day one, Hamas reconstitutes itself, and Hamas does it not because it intends to dismantle itself or to be expelled from the Gaza Strip, or not to be part of the day after in the Gaza Strip, but just on the contrary. They do not intend to dismantle themselves. They intend to remain in the Gaza Strip. And I think that they feel, and I'm not sure that they are wrong in this regard, that they are backed by, first of all, American pressures on Israel to remain containing the situation, and by Turkey and Qatar from the other side, that promise them that they will keep the vital interests of Hamas in phase 2 and phase 3, because the interests of Hamas are eventually the interests of Qatar and Turkey, and they want to see Hamas remaining not only in the Gaza Strip as an influential actor, but in the entire Palestinian arena. And therefore they feel, or they are under the consciousness of the upper hand, and they believe that they can continue manipulating and wasting the time. And this is exactly the situation that we are facing, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I really want to touch on this whole, governance in Gaza post-war. And we're going to touch on that soon, but I want to first touch on the story that we just covered, the body of Itai Chen, which was just returned to us here in Israel. It was located in Sajaiya. That's a suburb of Gaza City. And, most importantly, it's on the Israeli side of the yellow line. Now, we're not exactly sure how Hamas, operatives got into that area and extracted the body. We don't know if the IDF let them in or if they snuck in. That's not disclosed to the public at this point in time. But Hamas crossed the border, point blank, period. So, Kobi, can you break this down for us? I mean, why is Israel perhaps not conducting its own search and rescue in their controlled areas in the Strip if supposedly bodies of hostages could be there?
I can assume that we didn't have the most accurate intelligence in this regard, because if we would have it, I assume that the IDF would have searched for the bodies by itself. Mainly when we are talking about an area which is under full control of the IDF. It's between the yellow line and the international border. Maybe we had just a general idea or general intelligence in this regard. We knew that the body might be located there, but we didn't have the exact location, and we needed Hamas to reach to the exact location in order to earn time and not to waste time for searching him without having the accurate intelligence. I assume that this is the story. But at the end of the day, there is no doubt that there are some bodies in the western side which are beyond the yellow line, and Hamas knows how to reach to these sites and to take out the bodies and to release them, to bring them to the IDF. And Hamas continues playing on time and continues manipulating because as we spoke before, okay, this is their strategy. This is their way, first of all, to torture the Israeli society. Secondly, to increase the tension between the Israeli society and the government. And thirdly, to build their capacities for reconstituting themselves in the areas that they control right now.
Absolutely. And Kobi, I'd like to also get your take on that. And I'd also like to add on that, IDF Chief Eyal Zamir actually said recently that Israel would grant safe passage, hypothetically, to these 200 some terrorists in exchange for the body of Adar Goldin. Now, this is a body that has been held in Gaza, if I'm not mistaken, since 2015. So, Kobi, what do you make of these comments, these remarks by the IDF Chief of Staff, and do you think that that could actually work?
2014, I mean Adar Goldin, I think that the idea of exchanging these 200 or so Hamas militants with or for the body of Adar Goldin is an idea or a declaration that was made by the Chief General of Staff, not by and at the beginning by even Prime Minister Netanyahu, but very quickly Prime Minister Netanyahu actually withdrew due to the political pressures. And in this regard, I think that these are right and correct political pressures, and they say that they will not be exchanged, they will not be released. I mean, the terrorists. They have two options and two options only. The first one is to surrender. The second one is to be killed. And I think that this is what Israel has to insist about, because with all the respect to the American administration, with all the respect and the honor to President Trump and his efforts, Israel has to make some concessions. Israel has to tolerate. Israel has to swallow, some frogs, but there must be a limit in this regard. There are red lines, even when it comes to the relations with the United States, and this is one type or one kind of these red lines. The idea of releasing or exchanging these 200 militants for something that Hamas is obliged to do according to the existing agreement, the idea that Hamas begins negotiating with Israel through the mediators and negotiating with the United States inside the agreement, this is something that cannot be tolerated, because it will be a precedent. And if Israel will contain it, or if Israel will tolerate it and will enable it this time, this will be a very wide door and the corridor for further concessions, and I think that it will cause huge troubles to Israel. And therefore, I want to believe that Israel will insist on that, and that these 200 militants will not be released.
Interesting. So you think that actually Israel should defy Trump's pressure to comply and to release these terrorists and to give them safe passage?
I do agree with this assessment. I think that the probability that the plan in its entirety will be realized or implemented is very low. But in the very same time, I think that there is an option with a higher probability that the plan can be realized or implemented in a gradual manner, which means that the mechanism of the plan with its three components, the technocrats government, the ISF, and the peace board, will be established and will begin operating in the eastern part of the Gaza Strip, which is controlled by the IDF. And in the very same time, the IDF will resume the military fighting against Hamas in the western part of the Gaza Strip until dismantling Hamas, until reaching to a full demilitarization of the Gaza Strip, and then to facilitate the conditions for the existing and operating establishment or mechanism in the eastern part to expand its role to the western part as well, to the entire Gaza Strip. I don't see any option that Hamas will dismantle itself voluntarily. I don't see any option that Hamas will comply. I don't see any option that Qatar and Turkey will pressure Hamas to do that. And the idea that President Trump insists and continue insisting to keep Turkey and Qatar in a very central role in all of this plan, I think that this is a mistake. It's something that creates tensions even with the other partners, the Egyptians, the Saudis, the Emirates. And I think that they might be very severe spoilers for all the plan, and we have to minimize their presence and their influence in the Gaza Strip.
Absolutely. Well, unfortunately, that is all the time that we have today, but I want to thank our distinguished guests for joining, Professor Koben Michael of the INSS and Misgav Institute. Thank you both for coming on the show.
Thank you very much.